What is up guys, today I'm going to show you how to change a PS3 laser on this old fat PS3. Now if you have a problem with your PS3 not reading games, then there's most likely your laser is dying. As far as I know, there's no way to pop tweak a PS3 laser. But anyway, this is one of the original ones. This is a 40 gigabyte model, or CECHGO3. So be aware that this tutorial might not work for you, depending on your model. But I have the replacement laser here. This is model KEM400A, and this is the single laser. Some of these have two dual lasers, one for Blu-ray, or one for the DVDs and one for games. But this is the one that's correct for this model, the 40 gig one, but this will also work on a 60 gig and anything lower than that. So the tools to open this is Phillips head screwdriver, Torx 10 security screwdriver. This has the little indent in the middle, and just like a pry tool. The first thing we want to do is remove the security seal, which is this flap here. It's just a sticker. This will void your warranty, but these are all out of warranty anyway, so it doesn't matter. So that will peel off. You can use like rubbing alcohol to get this off easier without damaging it. Then there's like this rubber tab here, which we can use a pry tool to lift up. Just like so. Here is one of the Torx screws. This is a different, I think this is the same size, but for some reason, okay, this one's got it. For some reason this one wasn't biting before, but now it's fine. Once that Torx screws out, you can slide the front facing panel just like so. It just unclips. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws here. Go ahead and remove these. These are the quite long ones. The top right, this is going to be a smaller one, so be aware of that, because once we reassemble this, we need to put the screws in the right order. So this is the smaller screw on the top right. Once all the screws are off, we can now lift this up. Okay, so we're inside of the PS3. This is what we need to take out. So we have a power connector here. Just unplug this. Flip this to the right. Flip this to the right, and then there's like a tab here which we need to lift up and remove that ribbon cable. And that just pops out like that. And now we have the Blu-ray drive here. Going to need a smaller screwdriver to get these out. First thing we want to do is untab these ribbon cables here. If your drive doesn't look like this, then you're going to have to find like another tutorial. This is one of the older drives with the PCB board at the back here. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ribbon cables. And we're just going to lift up these tabs. This one can stay there. And just pop these up. So we have to remove, we actually don't have to remove this. We can open the drive without taking the PCB board off, but we do need to take off these screws. So we've got 3 screws at the bottom. Can remove the shield. And there's 2 screws up here. Now I'm only replacing the laser, but if you have like a whole drive that you need to replace, then you do need to transfer this board here to the other replacement Blu-ray drive, just because this matches with your PS3. Be careful with this because there is like a red and black like minuscule connector on the side here, right there. You have to be careful not to break that. I'm just going to remove the 2 top ones up here. Lift it from the back here, and this slides out. Now we have 4 more screws. Actually, there's 5 screws because there's one at the top here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 on either side, then 1 at the top. Now we can lift this up. And this exposes the laser, so we need to remove this whole thing here. Replace it with the new one. Just going to remove this back plate. So we need to take out 4 screws at the top, and they're circular, big circular ones. So this should just lift up. Oh yeah, and we do need to remove this ribbon cable here before we take this out. I think there's another one at the bottom. Which is that one there. We need to remove, and then just lift it up. There's another ribbon cable at the back for this motor. Again, make sure this is the correct model for your drive, because each PS3 has different drives depending on the release and the hard drive model. Or the hard drive size, sorry. So, just going to lift up the back, and then feed the ribbon cable at the back. Okay, now we can put the screws in, just double check. Yeah, the but the cable was at the back there. This didn't come with these pads here, so you need to take these rubber pads around the side off, which I've just noticed. And then just slide these in. Probably should have done beforehand. Okay, so I put these rubber bits back in, and now it's all screwed on. Just double check that your ribbon cables are flush, connected properly. Okay, so we've installed our new laser right here. Everything looks fine. So I'm just going to reassemble this. Okay, now we can put the PCB board back in. Reconnect the ribbon cables, just be gentle. Okay, they are all in. Now I'm just going to screw everything back on. Oh, before I do that, I need to put this case, front case, back on. And now I can screw everything back on. Just realign these, the bottom bit here. Shield should go under, okay, just like that. So everything is back to where it was. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to insert this back onto the PS4 and just test this out before I put everything back together. So I'm just going to plug this in, turn it on and test out again to make sure it reads it. Alright, so I managed to get the PS3 laser to work, and it's now running DVDs and Blu-rays just fine. As you can see, the disc is spinning. This is a different laser though, and I'll show you, just to be sure that you've put everything correctly, I'll show you how to do that, because I kind of, one of the ribbon cables that I originally put where the laser feeds onto the back of the board was in the incorrect way. The old laser, it kind of just died on me anyway, so I had to get them to send me a replacement, and it looks like it's just working fine. When I did put the laser back in, I did have problems with the eject, which I'll show you how it should be aligned when you put everything back together. So I'm just going to eject this disc. And turn this off. Okay, so first things first, you want to make sure, obviously, your ribbon cables are in the right placement, so not backwards. And I would show you the back here actually. Let's just unplug it all. So as you can see at the back here, just got to make sure all the cables are flush and not backwards. And also this board here, make sure the this metal thing's in place when you are going to test it, that is. So I recommend testing, once you replace the laser, just test it before you screw everything back together, just in case, like me, you had problems. Right, so I replaced this laser lens. This unit here is actually still the same as the old one. This bracket and the motor, or the motor here, that's all the same. So what's replaced is just this, and I had problems with this, which I'll show you how to redeem that. This is the eject system here. So I put everything back together and then it wouldn't accept discs, so then I opened this up and then this fell apart. Everything just fell apart. So if you have problems with your disc not going in or ejecting, then you can just unscrew this little screw here. You need to make sure the belt is okay first, because this like winds everything up. I'm just going to plug it in and then I can show you. Okay, so if you press the eject button for about 12 seconds, this will reset the drive. And you need to make sure that this gear here doesn't touch this when you close the lid, because this will then help you feed the disc in so it reads it. If you have troubles with this, then you can also take these two screws out and then you can realign this once you take this gear off, or this motor. You can then adjust these two, so one of them flips this up and one of them accepts the disc, and then check your belt drive to see if this needs replacing. That is a simple little fix to check if your discs aren't going in. And this thing here, again, I said before I had problems with this just completely coming apart. I had to put everything back together, and these two sort of clamps here connect to this, and they all interlink, so you push it down and all of it should just move in unison. And you need to make sure that all the gears, there's some like cogs here behind it, you need to make sure they're in there. You can take this apart and, you know, reassemble everything, but it's a bit of a pain in the ass, so I'm not going to do this right now. So you see there's 3 sort of cogs here that all go together. Everything just fell apart, so you need to make sure it all goes back together. Now when I reassemble this, I'm going to make sure this is not touching the gear. And this little bit comes off quite easy on the left side. Just goes like that. And there is a spring underneath that. So it's all put back together, realigned, and just double check that this feeds through. If it does, then you've done it correctly. So there you go, the eject or insert works. So where's the eject? So now we can just put it all back together. And another thing, when you put it back together, you need to make sure this little bit here, plastic bit, I'm going to flip it over. This is quite an important part, which is very easy to mess up. You see here, there's 2 holes here. You need to make sure there's nothing white shows up here, which means that little plastic bit is covering that. Looks like I did it first time. It's not usual that you do that first time, because that thing always gets in the way. So just be aware of that. And we can put this back on top of here. Slide the disc in. It aligns perfectly and starts spinning. So my problem was before that I put the disc in and it wouldn't spin. I checked the laser and it wasn't flashing any colours, no red light, no purple light, no nothing. So that indicates a broken laser if your disc doesn't spin. This. So I recommend getting a replacement, because I spent hours figuring out what was going on. If I had put stuff incorrectly and I replaced different parts from the laser module, still nothing, and it turned out that they sent me a faulty one. So there we go, guys. That is how to repair a PS3 fat laser, and I hope this tutorial has helped you guys. So I'll see you again on another tutorial. Here's just one more thing. I'd recommend putting a disc in before putting or screwing everything back in, just so this doesn't move or any of the other mechanisms doesn't move when you're flipping it around and trying to reassemble this. So put a disc in and you shouldn't have any problems with it, anything going wrong once you plug it back in. Okay.